On the surface, 11-year-old Gannon Stauch was just like any other boy his age. Living in Colorado Springs, he loved video games, hanging out with friends, and spending time with his family. Born in South Carolina in 2008, he was remembered as a sweet, thoughtful, and polite child who had big dreams of one day becoming an astronaut. His teachers described him as curious and bright, while his parents spoke of his gentle personality and how deeply he was loved. Yet, in January of 2020, his name would become known across the nation for a far darker reason, not for the promising life ahead of him, but because of the disturbing and heartbreaking way that his life was cut short. On January 27, 2020, his stepmother, Letecia Stauch, reported that Gannon had left home to play at a friend's house and never returned. The community immediately sprang into action, launching searches, posting flyers, and hoping for his safe return. But as the hours turned into days, something about the story began to unravel. Authorities noticed inconsistencies in Letecia's statements, and neighbors revealed surveillance footage showing Gannon entering a truck with her that morning but never coming back. Her behavior raised more suspicion, changing her story multiple times, even fabricating a kidnapping and sexual assault claim, which investigators quickly determined was false. While the community held vigils and prayed, detectives quietly began to suspect that this was not a simple case of a boy who had wandered away, but something much more sinister. As the investigation deepened, evidence began to pile up against Letecia. Inside the Stauch home, investigators discovered bloodstains in Gannon's bedroom and on the carpet, later confirmed through DNA analysis to belong to him. Cleaning supplies and attempts to hide the crime were evident. Cell phone data placed Letecia in suspicious locations that coincided with areas where investigators believed she had attempted to dispose of Gannon's remains. For his father, Al Stauch, who was away on military duty at the time, each revelation was devastating. The realization that the woman he had trusted to care for his children may have harmed his son was almost unbearable. And yet, the evidence was undeniable. On March 2, 2020, Letecia Stauch was arrested in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, after leaving Colorado. She was charged with multiple offenses, including first-degree murder, child abuse resulting in death, and tampering with evidence. Still, the most haunting piece of the puzzle remained unsolved. Where was Gannon? Weeks later, on March 20th, 2020, the answer came in the most heartbreaking way. Road workers in Santa Rosa County, Florida, discovered a suitcase beneath a bridge. Inside were the remains of 11-year-old Gannon Stauch. The medical examiner concluded that he had been beaten, stabbed, and shot. The sheer brutality of his death shocking even experienced investigators. Forensic evidence tied the suitcase directly back to Letecia, confirming what many already feared. The trial of Letecia Stauch would not begin until March of 2023, but by then the case had already gripped the nation. Prosecutors painted a chilling picture of January 27, 2020. Gannon was killed in his bedroom by his stepmother, who then tried to cover up her crime with lies and fabricated stories. Evidence presented included the blood found in the home, surveillance video, cell phone data, and of course, the suitcase that contained Gannon's remains. The defense attempted to argue that Letecia was not mentally competent, suggesting she suffered from dissociative identity disorder and was not in control of her actions. But jurors were unconvinced. They listened to the meticulous timeline, weighed the forensic evidence, and ultimately found her guilty on all charges in April 2023. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Throughout the trial, Gannon's biological mother, Landon, sat through the harrowing testimony, often breaking down in tears as she listened to the horrific details of her son's final moments. In her emotional victim impact statements, she spoke of the unimaginable pain of losing her child in such a cruel way, the emptiness left behind, and the future he would never get to experience. Her grief stood as a raw symbol of the devastating consequences of child abuse and betrayal within a family. Even after the conviction, one question continued to haunt the public. Why? Why would a stepmother take the life of the child she was entrusted to care for? Prosecutors suggested resentment, a strained relationship, and a feeling of being overwhelmed while caring for him in his father's absence. But no explanation could ever justify the sheer cruelty of the crime. The case of Gannon Stauch left a deep scar, not only on his family, but on the entire community that had searched, prayed, and hoped for a different outcome. It reminded the world of the vulnerability of children, the hidden dangers that sometimes exist within their own homes, and the importance of thorough investigations. After the trial, Gannon's family focused on honoring his memory. Vigils were held, candles were lit, and balloons were released into the sky in remembrance of the bright, gentle boy whose life was stolen too soon. They remembered him not as a victim, but as a child full of love and potential. His story continues to be told as both a chilling reminder of betrayal and a call to protect children at all costs. The disturbing case of Gannon Stauch is one of violence and heartbreak, but also of justice, resilience, and remembrance. Because, in the end, Gannon was not just a case. He was a little boy, a son, a friend, a life with endless possibilities, and his story deserves to be remembered.